Hello viewers, welcome to this tutorial. This session is the implementation of the date and time library, or how to use the date and the time library. So if you have no idea what date and time is, just check my previous tutorial. I explained what the date and time library actually is and what it can do, okay, and some basic syntaxes in it that you have to know. Okay, so let's just begin. Now the concept of this video is for us to be able to print today's date. Okay, that's what we want to do, to print today's date. So in printing today's date, there is a method in accessing today's date which is called today. All right, but today is not on its own, so we have to make a reference so we access today. So that's what we want to do. So date and time is a library, so the first thing we have to do is to be able to access that library. Okay, so we go like import. So import is the syntax used in accessing the library. All right, let's just jump into it. So after import, we give the name of the library called Datetime. Okay, so that's what we need. So check the side here, it's like a Python file. So that's the library we're talking about, the Python file, meaning that's what we're accessing. Okay, that is a file. So every library is kind of a file consisting of code. Now do not use this one. I've tried both of them, they work just the same. You can use the one with the underscore. Maybe yours might not have an underscore. I downloaded this Python just yesterday. It's a new release of Python, and I've used Python for almost a time. I've not really realized there's been a second one with an underscore. Okay, I'm just realizing it. But whether or not there is an underscore or not, no problem. The two of them eventually work the same. There might be some background differences, so just use the one without the underscore and we're good to go. So we have to import the date and time library. So that's what we've done. The next thing is to be able to print today's date. So we use the print function, okay, to be able to print today's date. So we go like print. Then the next thing we have to do is to reference the library. Okay, I made mention earlier that the today method, which will help us to access today's date, is found within the library called Datetime. So there will be some color coding. Now this is the basic color coding. If you've heard color coding, you realize this is a blurred sign. Okay, we are not really seeing it well, but if we reference it, the color will change. So that's the color coding. So in case you see any name of a variable being blurred, what it means is you've not used it. So if you use it, it goes off being blurred. So the first thing is referencing the date and time library, because I've imported it, so I have to reference. So I type datetime, which shows the file here, meaning I'm accessing the file. I press enter. So you see the color coding, it changes color. Okay, so the next thing I have to do is I have referenced, or the first thing I've done is I've actually referenced the library. After referencing the library, the next thing I would do is what? Get today. So I go like dot today. Now see what happens. It's not giving me any today. Okay, so what it means is today is a method, but today is also within a class called datetime. So check this out. If I type dot datetime, I see two things here. This is a class, this is also a class, but this is a date, this is datetime. I'll come back to the date, but I'm dealing with the datetime. So I type datetime. Then inside the class datetime, I have today. Okay, so let me explain the whole thing we are trying to do. I need a method called today, so I'll be able to get today's date. But today is inside a class called datetime. And datetime cannot be accessed alone, because datetime is also within a file which is called datetime. Okay, so you get a concept. So I need today, but I have to reference datetime, and before datetime will function, I also have to reference this datetime. So that's what we're doing at the top. So we've imported the library, we reference the library at first. After referencing the library, there is a class within the library called datetime. Then after, we have today, which is a method within the class called datetime, and in all we're using the dot operator. So the dot operator is the full stop you're seeing right here, so don't forget them. Okay, so if I run this code, we see today's date. Okay, it's not magic. All right, so this is today's date that we have 2020 06 06 19 24 50 and all those numbers. So let me explain them to you. What it actually does is, now I made mention in the previous tutorial that Python has a default way of formatting or presenting its date time. Okay, so this is how Python presents it. It brings the year first, then uses hyphen, then brings the month. So this is the month. Now this is 06, this is also 06, but I know this is the month. I've been working with datetime for quite a time. Okay, so this is the month. I explained to you, you get to know it is the month in the tutorials to come. Okay, so now 2020 06 means June, and we have 06, which is today's day. Okay, today is 06. So save off, let's see, yeah, 6th of June 2020. So that's how Python formats it. Then Python also uses this 24-hour format, okay, where we have 19 means 7, if I'm right. Sure, it means 7. So 7, 24, 50. Okay, 50 is the second, and this is not really microsecond, but kind of it's something different that runs on its own. Anytime I check, it changes time, but this is not the point of focus. Anything, all we need is this the year, or did I say year? All we need is the date and the time. Okay, that's what we need. They don't really take notice of this thing. I've been seeing it all the time since I began to program in Python, but not really giving it my concentration, because it doesn't look like microseconds, as we all know, which is 1 to 100. This is kind of a whole bunch of numbers. So I'll teach you how to only print the date, and I'll teach you how to only print the time, okay, and how to ignore and remove this one from your date and time. So this is how Python formats it. It has this, it has that, and that is how it basically works. So if I run it again, you realize it's 19, 26, 37. Okay, so it changes again because time is changing. Okay, it uses your default time you have. It uses the one on your operating system, because if I'm offline, it can't get it from the internet. So Python is not using the internet, it uses the one you have on your laptop. So if I should change my time right now, just check it out. If I should change my time and have load faster, okay, okay, if I should change my time and have maybe any other format. Okay, so I have 427 right now. If I should run the code, I have 427. So 16 is 4 and 27 by the same date. Okay, so Python uses your operating system to kind of check its date and time. So you have to be careful the time you are having. So if you want to print today's date, it actually will not go for today's date elsewhere. It uses today's date with respect to what you have on your computer. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. So if I should run this code, I have, yes, 727. Okay, now there is another thing I want you to know, that there is a different way of declaring or importing a datetime library. Okay, there are two different ways we can use. Now this method is not mostly reliable when you want to specify a class which you want to call, and in most tutorials you will see them using the from syntax. So let me teach you what a from syntax does. Okay, check the difference. From datetime, import datetime. Alright, so what's the difference between these two? Let's see, print, and we go datetime.today. What's the difference between these two? Now the only difference is, with this we only imported the library, but in this line of code we say from the library import the datetime class. So if I begin to type here datetime, see, it references is the class. Okay, so this makes your code shorter here, because in this aspect you have to be calling datetime.datetime, which is a whole long code. Okay, and which means you've imported everything or every class within datetime. But in this aspect of the code, we only want to import the datetime class within the datetime library. So this is kind of more reliable. So if I clean this code, we have everything working. From the datetime library, I want to import the datetime class. So it shortens my code. Instead of saying datetime.datetime, I just go like datetime.today, because this one right here is not the library anymore, it is the class. Okay, so if I should run this code, it works the same way. So this is the method I'll be using within the tutorial. Just check up on this. I will not be using import datetime. I'll go straight to the point and say from datetime import datetime. And moreover, if you know how to deal with variables, this should be simple for you. So current date equals datetime.today. Then instead of declaring within the print statement, I just go like current date, because this is alright. So this is the same thing, because I might be using the current date in so many aspects of the code, and there's no need just to write it in the print statement. So I assign it to a variable and I use it any part of the code I want to use. Okay, so this is what you have to know within this tutorial. Thank you for viewing. Subscribe to the channel if you have not liked the videos, if they're informative for you, and remember to ring the bell, okay, to get every update we need. There are so many things we'll be learning in this tutorial, so watch out for all of them. Just check out for them, they are all available. Thank you.